All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Mike Files. It's been a minute. I couldn't help myself today. I mean, good God. You know, there hasn't been one day that's gone by since the... Jesus Christ, I don't even know. It's like every day is a boondoggle. Joe Biden fell again today. I guess we'll start off with that one. Because he blamed a sandbag. There was some kind of a bag sitting there, but you know, I mean, this is just another example of what are they doing? Okay, if you guys are familiar with where the Air Force Academy is, that's located in Colorado. That's high elevation. Joe Biden is an old man, and I mean, even professional athletes, when they go play sports up in Denver, they have to have oxygen. We're talking about guys in their 20s, at their prime, peak physical health and condition. They can't play the sport that they train to play all year up there without having that oxygen mask because of the elevation. And it messes with you. When I came back here from California, I went and got on the the stair climber at the gym one day. Just a little cardio, you know. Thought I'd put in a couple miles, whatever. Nah. I was doing like 10 miles on that thing, you know, at sea level. Come out here, I was dying. I mean, I was about ready to fall over after like 3 miles. I mean, you can't just fly this dude out there and dump him off the plane at that elevation. Out there in the sun and shit. This is an old ass man. Yeah, I don't like the old man. I don't, but I think that is just, it's irresponsible. I mean, it's amazing. They should be ashamed, really. His staff has got, Joe Biden's staff, I mean, they've got to be the worst. Who picked him? He obviously didn't. I know who picked him. You know who picked him. You know who's running the show. This poor guy, he's a sock puppet. But I mean, it's embarrassing to have this type of shit happen just over and over again. Let's see if we can pull this guy up. Monitor. All right. Hopefully everybody can see that. Let's give it a good whirl here. Let's see what we got. There he is. The man. Watch this. Boom. Down goes Frazier. Let's bring it back. Oh boy, that was a bad fall too. I like how he points. There's a thing there. It's like, dude, you can't walk. I mean, he walks around like Herman Munster. I mean, why would you even have anything? I mean, God, it's just bad handling again. I mean, you got to handle this dude. Like, look at these Secret Service. The bald guy, what's his deal? Is he wearing a fucking mock turtleneck or some shit? Jesus Christ, Manetti. Well, anyway, down he went again, you know? I don't know. I don't know why they even send him anywhere. There's no place. I mean, why don't you just put him on the big screen and he can just zoom it in? Let him use Zoom, whatever. Google Meet. There's a gazillion different options to go through. And he can be in the comfort of his home. Just take him home. Take him down to, they'll just leave him there. He can do everything from there. There's no reason for him to even be in D.C. He's not doing anything. And the idea that this is what they're going to run again, this is what the Democrats, this is their option. You watch. Guess who's going to end up back in there? It's going to be, you know who? Hillary. She's going to give her one last go. And I mean, that's going to, oh God, can you imagine a Trump Hillary part 2? Oh my God. Oh, I wish I was good with claymation, because I tell you what, whoever makes a celebrity death match out of that one is going to make a bunch of money on that. I mean, you got Hillary up there dressed up like a Kirby vacuum cleaner, an orange guy. And then the crowd, oh my God. You're going to have the crowd just going nuts. You're going to have the pussy hats, and you're going to have the red hats. And this is what's so silly about all this. It's just absolutely asinine. It's silly. It's so ridiculous. And then, oh yeah, I don't know if you guys saw the meme I put up there. I'll post it up later. I'll put it on Twitter and on Bookface and stuff. But I made one of Chris Christie has apparently, he's thrown his hat in the ring. Let's see if I can find it here. I had to. It's kind of, I won't put it up. It's in poor taste. I don't really care though. You know, Frank, what's up, buddy? How you doing, man? Anyhow, poor taste, but you know, Chris Christie, come on, man. I mean, who put, you know, there's another example. I'm going to put it up anyways. I don't care. You know, that's the kind of guy I am. I just don't care. So here we go. There he is. The man. Oh, I just missed it. We'll pause it when he comes back around. Maybe. Let's see if we can fast forward this slideshow a little bit. There's old Dan Goldman. What a turd. Sniffy. That Dan Goldman is something else. I don't know if you guys watched any of the hearings that went on with the FBI with whistleblowers. That was pretty pathetic. There we go. There's old Joe. Sorry, I had to put Trump in there. You know, I like making... There we go. I mean, come on. This is a funny joke. You know? I was going to say, hey, he's throwing his head in the Nuva ring or maybe the hula hoop. But come on. I mean, who puts him in those pants and puts him out there like that, you know? I mean, you put him in those pants? Did any of you guys ever see the footage of him at Wrigley Field? He got in a fight with a guy up in the stands. Like straight up was like going to fight this guy. You know, it's like, who are you going to fight? The guy looks like a garbage sack stuffed with cream corn. You know, I mean, the dude, I don't know what you call that. It's not a camel toe. What is it? A mammal toe? I don't know what it is. A front butt. You know, he could hang out with Jerry Nadler. Him and Jerry Nadler could hang out together. That would work out well for them. You know, they could trade pants and stuff, belts. Can you imagine the size of a belt that guy has to wear? I'll bet that sucker could wrap itself around a 55-gallon drum and then some. I wonder if he has to. I wonder if he can't. He probably doesn't fly with the rest of us plebeians, us peasants. He probably has his own private. You know, he's from New Jersey, so he's probably got all that. You know, all that Atlantic City money and stuff like that coming in. I'm sure he's not wanting for anything. It's funny though that he would run. You got they're saying there's gonna be 9 Republicans now that are gonna run, and most of them don't even have 1%. It's like, what are they doing? Just throwing money away? I mean, do you know how much it a Senate seat alone? A Senate seat is going to cost you, bottom line, $10 million. What do you think it's going to cost you to run for president? I mean, you're looking at $100 million at least. I think the last election, I was up over 200 million, 216, 225, something like that. I think that's what was the number for one of them. Then I think Biden was at 225 and Trumpy was at 216 or something like that. It's a lot of money, you know, and that's got to make you wonder about democracy too. You know, I mean, when the average citizen can't run for office, then is it really? Is this really a fair shot? Is this really a fair deal? I mean, you or I, based on our ideas, our principles, or, our vision, whatever it might be, that we might have a great idea. I mean, it's got to be better than what these clowns are doing. I don't know. I just watched a documentary that a young kid did, a French kid, but he's been out of L.A., but he went to Syria. The whole thing in Syria is just, I don't even want to get off on that right now. That'll be for another episode, but what a moving documentary that was. You just look at Aleppo, they say is the oldest city on the planet, 11,000 years old, okay? Jesus was 2,000 years ago, right? So this is 11,000 years old, and it's just in rubble. It's like looking at pictures of Mosul, all these cities, from the Mesopotamian Valley this was the cradle of civilization. This is where the alphabet was started. This is where society started. This is where civilization began, agriculture, the system of laws, reading, writing, everything. And who knows, it's crazy to think that all of a sudden one day it just seems like boom, all of a sudden something snapped. Which makes me wonder about, but that's a whole nother thing too. Don't get me sidetracked, people. You guys are always getting me off on wicked tangents here. I had a whole thing written up today. I don't know if anybody watched the whistleblower stuff last week. That was pretty embarrassing watching that. These poor 3 guys from the FBI that had, exhausted every single avenue that they had within the agency, to get something to change. They were sitting back watching what these guys were doing. I mean, one of the cats, Mr. Allen, we'll get to that one with him. This was great with what's her face. I'll have to look at my notes. Whatever, Linda, the one with the purple hair from California. She sat there and grilled him. His name's Marcus Allen, right? She sat there and grilled. So there's a guy named Marcus Allen, right? There was a running back named Marcus Allen. I'm sure in a nation of 300 and almost 40 million people, there's a few cats named Marcus Allen that are probably on Twitter. So she brings up this tweet from this Marcus Allen, and it says Nancy Pelosi was behind January 6th. And she goes, do you stand by that? And he says, that's not my Twitter account, lady. He didn't say it. That's what I've been, you fucking idiot. But anyhow, yeah, another long night, Frank. Same here, buddy. Good to see you on the chat, man. Hope you're doing well. So anyways, he proceeds to tell her, he says, listen, it's not me. And she reads it again and she says, well, do you believe this to be true? And he goes, it's not my Twitter account. I didn't write that. Why would you even ask me that? And it takes an exchange of about 3 or 4 times before she finally realizes that it's not his Twitter account. But then she proceeds to grill him on what this other Marcus Allen said. But do you believe that to be true? Finally, he just goes, no. I mean, to watch her and that Dan Goldberg, I'm going to take my ball and go home, Goldberg. Have you ever watched that guy? He gets out there and he makes the most asinine statements. And I don't know how it's not a conflict of interest. I mean, this guy, you're talking about an heir to the Levi Strauss company, an attorney on Wall Street, and he gets elected to be a congressman out of the Manhattan district in New York. And he's the most condescending, self-loathing son of a bitch I've ever seen. That dude cannot stand himself. If you slow down and you look at that guy when he talks, he doesn't like himself. That's why he acts that way. And then when he says what he says, he can't even stand the idea of somebody actually refuting him or arguing with him. He gets up and he leaves the chamber. He is such a baby that he can't sit there and listen to what somebody else would have to say to, retort, to debate him. That's what Congress is about, right? It's about having a debate. That's why they have the decorum that they have set up. That's why they have time limits on how much, you can speak. And if you can't sit there and listen to somebody critique what you just said, or how does he know they're not going to agree with him? And then you got that Stacey Plaskett. Good God, she is absolutely a toxic human being. Why do we have a representative from a place that if you don't get to vote, I don't know why you have a seat, especially up on the dais. She's from she's representing the U.S. Virgin Islands. She doesn't have a vote. in the House of Representatives. Yet she is consistently up there just nasty, just running her mouth, just nasty. And she doesn't have a vote. Is that why she's so nasty? Because she doesn't have a vote? But why? Sure. Okay, fine. If we're going to do that, let the person have but not up on the dais. No, if you don't have a vote, you sit down there. If you don't have a vote, then what are you doing up there? I don't want to hear from her. I don't know who does. I don't know. Maybe and then they're sitting there and they're just hacking on these poor guys. These dudes have obviously been retaliated against. They had the balls and the courage to stand up for what they thought was right. I mean, the one guy, Alan, he'd been to school board meetings because he's got kids. He caught a bunch of shit within the FBI about it. And then they've got him out there taking license plate numbers at school board meetings across the country. This guy went from chasing these nasty ass pedophiles, getting predators off the street to they've sent him to take license plate numbers at school board meetings. I mean, you got to be kidding me. That's absolutely ridiculous. So I guess we know that we got an election coming up because we got, the whistleblowers are coming out everywhere. We had, with the 4 years of Trumpy, we had, these Democrats colluding with foreign spies like Christopher Steele with Fusion GPS, the guy that came up with the PP diaries, based upon his source, Igor Danchenko, who heard from somebody that this is what happened, but didn't really know. And he got off scot-free. You had the likes of Andrew McCabe, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, Jim Comey, the Mueller report, the quid pro quo fucking impeachment, which was actually what Biden did when he withheld $1 billion in military aid when he was vice president. He flew over to Ukraine and he said, listen, if you don't fire this prosecutor who was getting ready to, he's going to investigate Burisma, who is the corrupt gas company that was paying Hunter Biden $80,000 a month for access to Joe Biden, who Joe Biden said he never met any of them, but there's photographs and everything else of it. And just a liar. It's just typical Joe Biden shit. Lies, 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 lies. He doesn't even know the truth. He's one of these people that he's lied so much that he's lied himself into this fake world that he now lives in where he thinks it's true. He's lied himself into thinking that it's true, which is pathetic. Corn pop, and his hair sniffing. And every time he's around kids, it's just you cringe. He always says something screwed up too. So they tried to make that, they tried to spin that whole thing, to make it look like they, that they fired that Victor Shanko or whatever. But I mean, what was it? Was it the Council of Foreign Relations? I think that's what it was. A CFR luncheon where Biden got up there and said, well, I was getting ready to leave, and I told them they won't be getting their $1 billion until they fire that prosecutor. He's no good. So they and he goes, oh, son of a bitch, they fired the guy. He wanted him out of there, and then let's see, I've got a quote up here somewhere from USA Today. Yeah, this is according to USA Today about the whole thing. It says sources ranging from former Obama administration officials to an anti-corruption advocate in Ukraine say the official Viktor Shokin was ousted for the opposite reason Trump and his allies claim. It wasn't because Shokin was investigating a natural gas company tied to Biden's son. It was because Shokin wasn't pursuing corruption among the country's politicians, according to a Ukrainian official and 4 former American officials who specialized in Ukraine and Europe. Specialized in Ukraine and Europe. 4 American, who would that be? Let me guess, those are probably 4 signatures that were on that letter trying to say that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation, that it was a plant, that it was fake, that it was phony. Even though that letter was instigated by Antony Blinken, who wound up, what's his face, Mullet, God damn, I can't remember his name, the CIA guy. Anyway, Blinken got him all wound up, and he wrote that letter, and then he put it in front of the CIA, and they said, oh, there's nothing classified in this. Yeah, you can go ahead and release the letter. And, they sent the letter around, and they got the 51 signatures from the likes of, Clapper, Brennan, Panetta, a bunch of guys that ended up getting, they got all sorts of benefits out of it. They got tapped to take seats in the Biden administration, you know. There was 3 of them at least that ended up getting spots, you know, where they say it had the earmarks of Russian disinformation. Oh, okay. I want to know who these 4 former, they specialized in Ukraine and Europe. Huh? You're talking about 2 different animals right there. Ukraine is a different animal than any place in Europe. That's a whole different, that place is the most corrupt country on the planet, for Christ's sake. Excuse me. I mean, what a joke. You know, and this is where this all, you know, this is just with the last election. We're not even getting into the, you know, what happened in 2016. And, you know, here's the thing is 37% of these nitwits in this country still think that there was Russian collusion that happened between the Trump administration and Russia. If you look at the Trump policies towards Russia, he was more hard-nosed against Russia than anybody was. Obama, they caught him on a hot mic sitting there saying, you know, once the election gets over, I'll have more wiggle room and we can, you know, we can revisit this. You know, I mean, he's sitting there, you know, I mean, they caught that. I mean, tell me that's not corrupt. Hillary Clinton gives away 20% of the uranium. Not corrupt, huh? Bill Clinton goes over and speaks for half an hour at a Russian bank, makes $500,000 or $500,000 for 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you got the likes of Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who was the architect of, you know, Trump and Bernie Sanders through the mud in 2016 because he had to be, you know, stomped down there so they could prop Trump up. That's the funny thing is that the DNC propped Trump up because they thought that Trump was going to be the easiest path to victory. They didn't want to face a Marco Rubio or whoever the hell else was in the running that year. You know, really there was no Jeb Bush, that Cletus. I mean, they propped him up. That they wanted that. The DNC wanted Hillary to go against Trump. They thought that she was just going to trounce him, and everybody thought that. I mean, they were all lined up, ready for their victory parade. Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Okay, we get to watch her this last week. She gets up there and talks shit to these 3 FBI agents that had come forward. Whistleblowers. I hate that term. I don't know why I don't like it. I just can't. It reminds me, it's like, what are we going to put, like a referee's whistle in there? You know, have them dressed up in referee outfits? I mean, I don't know why they call them whistleblowers. It sounds like such a derogatory term. And then they're saying, you're not a whistleblower. Well, God, if I'm not a whistleblower, then shit, what am I now? Because, I mean, to me, that seems like kind of like the lowest form of person you could be. I mean, it pretty much means you're mean. I understand it when you're talking about corruption in government and you got to come forward because you don't agree with it, you know, from a moral or an ethical standpoint. And, you know, I don't know how many of you have had any dealings with the FBI. I have, and I can tell you that they are, they're not the most pleasant individuals on the planet. And they're going to do whatever they can and they're not going to lose, to tell you the truth. You know, they're not. It's just like the federal government. You ain't got a chance. You know, there's a reason they have like a 95% conviction rate. Anyways, so we got Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Now she's up on the dais. And she's, you know, the pillar of morals and ethical standards, right? She's taken in more money than any other DNC chairperson in the history of the party, as well as lost more elections than any other DNC chairperson in history. And Floridians keep electing her. It's just like, why does Elizabeth Warren keep getting elected? Why does Maxine Waters? Why does Adam Schiff? Adam Schiff is going to run for Senate. This guy got up and lied to the entire country twice. And he's up there grandstanding. This guy, why do they even let him talk? You know, it's like, hey, dude, you had your chance. All right, I'm all for the freedom of speech, right? But when you're an elected official and you lie to the public, not once, but twice, and who knows how many other times, right? This is just the big scene where he got his, you know, moment in the sun. And what a turd. What a turd. This guy, you know, And then he's going to run for Senate. I tell you what, you Californians, oh my boy, I know my guys out in California don't vote, but Jesus Christ, what are we doing out there in California? You're voting, you got these relics, this Maxine Waters and Dianne Feinstein, and your governor is a fucking idiot. And, I mean, what's going on here? I like California. I love California. It's one of my favorite places to go. At least it was. I mean, I miss going out there. But you know what? At this point in the game, it's like, shit, I don't want anything to do with that place. I'm just happy to be right here. And, I don't give a shit if it's snowing sideways and 25 below. It's fine. I'm cool with it. I mean, there's no place I'd rather be right now, I don't think, than out here in the middle of nowhere. The idea of dealing with these cities and stuff right now is just like, nah. I mean, Billings, Montana, 90 miles away. It's one of the most dangerous cities in the country right now. Every day on the news, somebody's getting shot, stabbed, killed, maimed in Billings, Montana. That's an hour and a half from here, I mean, yeah, down on First Street or whatever, sometimes you run into some drunks or whatever down there. Big fucking deal. But now it's just it's a shit show up there. It's like, why is that? But I mean, that's what's going on everywhere, man. It's violence and it's I don't know. You got these shootings every day. And then we've got these politicians. And what are they doing about anything? They're not doing a thing. You've got fentanyl coming in the country, by the tons. It actually doesn't even take that much. That's the thing that the cartels like about it, is they don't have to smuggle tons of it. A little bit of it goes a long ways to killing people. I mean, at 300 a day, it takes 2 grains of that shit and you're dead. If your chemistry is wrong for it, you know what I mean? They've legalized this like Portland. I was watching a thing on Portland earlier today, and I can't believe that's a city I used to live. I like my time in Portland. I worked for the city, and yeah, every morning I worked at East Delta Park, which is that's like north, just right off the I-5, right before you cross the river into Vancouver, Washington. East Delta Park, and I can't remember how many. We had like 6 or 7 soccer fields, 6 or 7 softball fields. So every weekend there was kids everywhere, because we had softball tournaments and soccer tournaments. And we had rows of porta potties, around all these, these fields and stuff. But it was also right off the interstate. And at the end of the park, there's a place we called it Bum Hill. And you had the guys, the panhandlers. And they pretty much stuck to that end for the most part. But then you had the sickos, the molesters. And I hated these guys. And what these guys would do is they'd come in there at night. You could drive through there at night. They didn't have a gate. And I don't know why we didn't have a gate up. But they would come through and they'd take these they'd cut like little holes out of the side of the porta potties. And then they'd sit there and they're out there spanking it, watching little kids use the bathroom, And my buddy and I, we were kind of in charge. It wasn't a difficult job. We'd drag the softball fields, we'd line the fields. We'd just, we'd start our day off every day going around with we had a little biohazard container and we'd go around picking up heroin needles because the addicts like to use the porta potties. This was back in, this was back in like the late 90s. And so that's how we would start our day. You go around and you'd have those little, like the old man grabbers. We had a little John Deere Gator and we had the biohazard thing in the back of it. We'd just drive around and pick up all the little orange, you'd see the orange off of them, open each porta potty. There'd be needles all over the place. Guys would be knotted out. We'd mow the yard, mow all that grass out there, and those guys would take their 40s and, we'd have to get on them because they would throw them out there in the grass. And if you ran them over, then you got, broken glass everywhere. They were pretty, though, for the most part, they were respectful about it. If you got on them about, leaving their beer bottles out there when we were mowing, they would, they'd say, oh, sorry, and they'd go get them. But you'd watch these guys, and I'd give it to them. They stuck together. You'd watch these cats, and they'd sit there, you'd get off that exit off the I-5, And so you get off, it does the little U thing right there. And then there's like I think it was a 76 station that sold beer, and they'd take turns. They'd go out and sit on a bucket, and I'd be damned if, those guys would go out there, they'd get handed a $50, sometimes $100 bill. And they took care of each other. When they'd make a big hit like that, then you'd watch him, the guy would go right in that 76, and he'd come out with a 40 for every one of those dudes sitting on Bum Hill. And they'd all have a 40. They looked out for each other. So, hey, I don't know. I don't know what situation in life put them there, and I don't have any judgment to pass on those guys at all. I mean, I wouldn't, quite frankly, I don't think any of us realize how close we could be to be in that situation. I mean, I've talked to a lot of those cats, especially as I've gotten older. Because I it's like, how did you, I mean, I'll go up and talk to a dude, say, man, what's going on, man? How, I've heard some crazy stories, man. And a lot of them center around, either a divorce where they lost everything, or they got sick, or their wife got sick, or their kids got sick, medical bankruptcy, money problems, or dude gets laid off, wife divorces, there he is. He's got nothing. She took everything from him, there he is. I mean, there's so many circumstances, and it can happen so quick, and I think that as a whole, we're very judgmental of the people that are homeless and on the street. I mean, do you think that those people want to be out there addicted? Yeah, they might want to be in the throes of it, because what else do they have? I mean, I've seen people come, I've never witnessed anybody kicking a fentanyl, but I have with heroin, and it's not good. It's not good at all. It's painful. I mean, it sucks. I mean, so I don't think these people that are out there stuck in these scenarios, I don't think that's what they want to be doing. Quite frankly, I mean, yeah, there are people that want to be running around on the streets. You're going to have a percentage of, people that are, psychopaths, nuts, a little bit cross-wired, a little bit miswired, whatever, short-circuited, But the thing is, too, is a lot of those cats out there that want to be out there, you're talking about, veterans that have come back with PTSD. They don't want to be inside. They feel more comfortable being outside, They feel more in their element after going what they've gone through, And I mean, there's just so many facets to what's going on right now. We just keep fighting these endless wars. We keep funding all this bullshit. I mean, look at how much money we've sent to Ukraine. Now, I don't know. My perception on it is that, it's terrible to see innocent people, getting blown up. And it's, that's something that what are you going to do? If it wasn't a bunch of Nazis running that Azov regime and shelling those people in the Donbass region, then Russia wouldn't have invaded. So where do we go? We got 14,000 people from the Donbass region that were innocent and got shelled, and I mean, Putin's demands at the start of this thing were not that big. He didn't even want to take the land. He just wanted Zelensky to say, listen, we're not going to do this shit anymore to these people. We're going to let them, worship the way they want to worship because they're Russian Orthodox. We're going to let them speak the Russian language because that's what they speak. And we're going to leave them alone. But no, he couldn't handle that. Putin wasn't even trying to do a Crimea. He was just trying to say, look, just stop. Well, NATO, had told Zelensky over and over, they threw the carrot in front of him, like, you're going to be part of NATO. No, not even the case. And NATO has been the one pushing this thing. And here we are now, we're at war by proxy. I mean, I've seen stuff that we've got boots on the ground over there, even though they say we don't. And we're sending all this money that we don't have. And here we are, we're negotiating. Well, apparently they negotiated it and it got signed off on apparently McCarthy, he broke weak on the whole the debt ceiling thing. So what they agreed to do is that they weren't going to cut the spending, but they were just going to keep it flat until, was it 2025, 26? And then it was gates wide open, let her go. Because this Biden, he doesn't give a shit. He just thinks that it's like monopoly money. It'll just, whatever. And that's, hey, as far as I'm concerned, let him crash the goddamn thing. It's not sustainable. It's not. I mean, how long do we put the Band-Aid on it? Just rip it off. Let it crash. We'll make do. We're resilient people. We can figure it out. People like you, me, our neighbors, everybody we know, we're the ones that make it go around, right? What do you think these politicians would do if you were to, kick their bum asses out? These people couldn't even probably go out and start a goddamn campfire. They probably can't even pitch a tent. They probably don't even know how to change their oil, check a tire. These people are worthless. All they can do is get up there and grandstand, on their moral high ground and how important they are. They're idiots. They're not any better than anybody else. Do you think Joe Biden, that dude I don't know what step it was that he took, but he took one right step in his life, because he was just as close to being a fucking grocery store bag boy as, the goon up the street. I mean, that's his capacity. Look at this guy. He's done nothing but cheat, lie, steal, plagiarize. He's done nothing. The only thing that he did was pass the 94 crime bill that locked up thousands of black men, basically, for nonviolent drug offenses. Took them away from their kids. And then you have thousands and thousands of children without a father, with a mother working 3 jobs in, terrible neighborhoods, gang infested. What choice do they have? You want to talk bad about, what goes on in these neighborhoods and shit, but do you really have a choice? Put yourself in somebody else's shoes. Just because you were born with a certain pigment of skin in a certain area, a certain place, it doesn't mean a damn thing. I mean, I could have just as easily been born in Aleppo or Mosul or, any of these war-torn cities, nation states, whatever, Africa out there, I mean, that could be me out there with no clothes, digging up blood diamonds. What are those kids supposed to do over there? When those warlords show up and they hand them a machine gun, and they point it at their family and they say, you're going to kill your mother now. 12-year-old kid looking at his mom. Somebody's going to die. These kids are put in these positions, the gang activity and all that. People, that's not human nature. That's a survival behavior. And we want to go and we want to police the whole entire planet, but we don't want to put anything into, this infrastructure bill, right? That's where I was going to go with this thing tonight, is the IRA, this Build Back Better bullshit. It's just garbage. It's absolute garbage. The money's going to the DOD. It's going to a bunch of shit. But yet they can't take 20 billion of this shit out of 1.9 trillion. They can't take 20 billion of that. Now, when I was growing up, $1 million was a lot of money, right? Like if you were a millionaire, it was like, and then all of a sudden it became billions, and then the congressional spending and stuff. You watch these bills and all of a sudden you're talking billions and you're going, your eyes are popping out of your head, right? At least, at that time in my life, I was like, God damn, billion, and you write it out on paper and look at it and go, holy shit. Now we're talking trillions, and they just throw trillions around now like it's no big deal. Every kid that's born is going to be thrown in the debt. And guess who gets the debt? Is just to us. Yeah, there's some that has to be repaid to some foreign countries. The only reason that we have to fucking extend the debt ceiling is so we can borrow more money. Do you know that's why these fuckers are so upset about this? Do you know why this was such a big deal? It didn't have anything to do with us defaulting. We've defaulted before. They say that, oh, we're not the Lannisters. We're not, the Lannisters always pay their debts. For any of you that have watched that stupid fucking show. We have defaulted. And there's absolutely no reason that we should be in debt, but the reason that we are is because of the agreement that we jumped into when we bankrupted ourselves from the fucking stupid Civil War. Yeah. The Organic Act of 1871. Look it up. I keep saying this. Nobody wants to look it up, but that's fine. You can stagger around and just be happy and complacent with what you got. And once it's all taken away from you, you're going to wonder what happened, or at least, you might have a clue. Because nobody knows the real history of this country. Everybody just believes the bullshit that, that they're taught. Now it's just the bullshit that you see online. You know how much shit I see people post? And I try and stay off that shit. I mean, I put stuff out there, but I typically don't revisit it. I don't go back and look at it. And I'm sorry for people that comment on anything. I'm not trying to be a dick, but you know what? Quite frankly, I say what I got to say. And if you all want to fight about it, I mean, typically I'll go back and look, and there'll be two dudes that I don't even know that have decided to go to bat and start swinging at each other on my post, and they're going back and forth at each other. And it's just like, what? Okay, whatever. I mean, I said what I have to say, It stands for itself. You want to argue about it amongst yourselves? Good. Knock yourselves out. Me personally, I mean, and I used to get into that shit. I'd see something and I'd get, be like, oh, this fucking moron, and fire off at him. But, you can't, the thing is you can't change the mindset of a stupid person. If somebody's stupid, they're going to be stupid, and you can't change that. Ignorant people, ignorant and stupidity are kind of different, An ignorant person, I mean, that's kind of that's a dysphomistic word. But really it just means that you don't know. There's all kinds of shit I don't know. I'm ignorant on all sorts of things. And I'll be the first to admit it. I mean, like that guy from Family Ties, that fucking, what's his name, the boyfriend. I know Charles Bronson. I mean, I'm just a useful idiot, and I'll be the first to admit it. But, I'm also trying I'm trying to be more useful and, get rid of the idiot part. I don't know how that's going. But some of you are probably like, yeah, you're a fucking idiot. And that's fine. But I appreciate it when people call me out. Say, hey, dude, did you ever think about it this way? And it's like, oh. And if I'm wrong, hey, thank you, But a stupid person, you can't reason with them. And that's a problem in this country. And it's not even a country, it's a corporation. I keep calling it a country. I keep saying nation, shit like that. But you look at it, it's not. It's a corporation. You're a corporation. You are a legal fiction. I don't have any envelopes up here that I've gotten in the mail, but any of them that show up and they've got your name in capital letters, all capital letters, that's not even you. That's a legal fiction. So, again, that's something we're not going to get into tonight. But talking about this IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, it's done nothing to reduce inflation. Nothing at all. You've got all these different, we had the Durham report come out, right? And these jackasses on CNN and MSNBC, they lambasted the Durham report as a waste of taxpayers' money, a waste of time. What was the Mueller report? The Mueller report, what was the end game with that? What was it, $42 million? 3.5 years or whatever? And he comes out and says, well, this is the guy, mind you, in 2003. This is the guy that sold this country on the idea of WMDs in Iraq, okay? This is the guy. So he duped you once already, okay? So then you go and you put him in charge of this investigation into the PP tapes that Hillary paid this Christopher Steele to come up with. A fucking British spy from Fusion GPS. His source is Igor Danchenko. You seen this guy? This guy, I mean, dude, he looks like a real peach. I mean, I've hung out with some Russians before. This guy doesn't even, I mean, he just looks like, it's like, okay. And he didn't even have firsthand, he just was making shit up, you know? I don't even, who knows? Steele probably just used his name or whatever, paid him off or something, said, oh, I'm gonna cite you as you telling me this. The FBI tried to pay Christopher Steele another $1 million on top of it if he could corroborate the content of his dossier. He couldn't do it. $1 million. If somebody handed me, if somebody handed me a dossier that I'd given, especially to like the government, right? And said, here's this dossier that you gave us. Now we put our asses on the line, believe in this. We're willing to give you another $1 million if you can just corroborate it and show us the proof that this is actually legit. Steele couldn't do it. He had to walk away from it because he couldn't do it. This guy's a dirtbag, and he walked away from $1 million because he couldn't even back his own shit because he knew it was a fucking lie. Anything happen? Nah, nothing. Hillary bleach bits, you know, all those computers, smashes them with hammers. No big deal. I mean, you go down the list with these crooks, and you know the Bushes are no better. None of them are. This is all just crooked. And when you put these people in these positions of power like this, I mean, it's inevitable that you're going to have this corruption. Especially when you, I mean, it's the money. That's where it comes down to. You know, it's the money. These people, you know, it's not even the money. It's power. Well, where do you get your power? You get it from money. And yeah, Frank, I think if you're talking about Christopher Steele, Frank said, wasn't he offered $1 million to find dirt on Donald Trump? He was actually, if you're talking about Christopher Steele, he was actually offered after he had submitted the dossier to the DNC, which Michael Sussman, you know, he that's where he came into the whole mix, was he went to the FBI director, you know, and brought it all up. And so I believe he was paid $4 million to start with for the thing. And then after it had gone through and they stood on it and said it was good and all this, and then it was, you know, disproven. That's when the FBI approached him and they called him back in and they said, look, we'll give you $1 million if you can corroborate this dossier that you've produced. And he couldn't do it, which is what, you know, I'm sorry, Frank, I just saw your comment there. I'm just kind of riffing here and I'm not very good at paying attention to the commentary. So anyway, back to the Mueller thing, right? So Mueller gets up there and he says, well, there was no evidence of collusion, but there was not evidence of collusion. What the hell is that? You know, well, we didn't find anything, but we also didn't not find anything. You know, I mean, I could just see it at that point in time. When I heard him say that, I went, oh, God, here we go. You know, you can just see Rachel Maddow just sitting there, just crushed at her desk, just crying. And she hears that, and, you know, she sits up. Oh, the walls are closing in, you know, wiping her tears off her face. Jesus Christ. And people just listen to it, you know. It's time to quit being so stupid, you know. And I'm not saying that, I don't think that either one of the, I think that we're broken and we're beyond lost right now in this mess. I don't see any way of bringing it back. You're not going to just elect some guy and have him come in. What are they going to do if Trump wins, right? He's got pretty good odds of it right now. I mean, you know, they're putting out these fake polls saying that Biden's up by all these polls. Biden's not up by anything. Look at him. He was on the ground today. Who knows what the ramifications of that are going to be? That was a tough dude. That guy, he had a hard time getting up. He was twitching and his leg was all cobbed up underneath him. That's a tough spill for an 80-year-old man to take. You know what I mean? When you're that age and you take a spill, that's a broken hip sometimes. I mean, who knows? I mean, I bet you he doesn't even know what day it is. If you were to ask him, and who in the hell, I still don't understand, who the fuck thought it was a good idea to fly his ass out there to Colorado in that elevation, have him go sit out there on a hot football field and shake people's hands? Come on. You can have him pre-record something down in his dungeon and put it out there. You can edit it. You can have him redo it. He doesn't have any gaffes. I tell you what, if I was his chief of staff, if I was in charge of him, I would be keeping that dude under tight wraps. And I would have him doing all of his meetings, everything that he had to do would be done with Zoom. Because that's the new status quo anyways. I mean, if our kids can go to school that way and we can do business like that, then why can't he do that? You can put him on a bigger screen. You can set up a whole set down there in his basement or whatever, He doesn't even have to leave home. I mean, if I was in charge of that dude, if that was my job, that's what I'd be doing. I would be, I'd be treating him with kid gloves, right? Like, you're not going anywhere. You're not bike riding unless it's on your Peloton down here. And then you're going to be careful with that. You got to put a seatbelt on him or something like that. I mean, this dude's already had, brain injuries. I mean, and you're going to try and run him again at 82. Boy, that tells you what state the Democratic Party's in. If that's their option, it's between him and the Kirby vacuum cleaner lady. Boy, that's bad. Or what are you going to put Kamala up there so she can talk about yellow buses and going to the moon and the significance of the passage of time and repeat herself, or get a word salad going up there and then laugh and cackle? Jesus. They're in a bad way. I mean, really, who is a viable, who else they can put up there? Dan, take my ball and go Goldman? I mean, I don't really see who else they even have as a, what are you going to put Debbie Wasserman Schultz out there? It's pathetic. And the Republicans are just as bad too. I mean, I don't know what to, I don't even really, I don't care. I don't think we need it. I don't think we need any of these people. You and I, we all know what to do. We don't need them. What have they brought to your life? What have they done for you recently? Ever? What's a politician ever done for you in your life? When I was a little kid, apparently I would sit on Al Simpson's fucking knee at high school basketball games and drool on his shoes. When I was like 2 years old, I don't remember it. I mean, I like Al. I see him, say hi, I don't agree with some things but that's really the only interaction I've had with anybody that's, involved in that world. He hasn't really done any. He let me drool on his shoes when I was a little kid still spitting up. I don't know. I don't remember it. Other than that, I can't think of a single thing a politician or a bureaucrat has done to help me out at all, except steal from me. That's all they do. They steal, they take. They steal, they take, they make more laws. They write more laws. They make it more confusing. We don't need all these laws. We don't need all these codes. We don't need all this bullshit. There's a couple simple rules, it's like do no harm, try not to fucking murder somebody. George Carlin did a skit about, breaking down the 10 Commandments. It's hilarious. You gotta watch it. And he nails it. I think he gets it down to like 2. And that's where I'm at. That's why I always end every podcast with do no harm, and be good or be good at it. And do no harm. You can throw everything under do no harm. And the government is, look at the millions of deaths behind the United States government. Look at the years that this country has been at war since its inception. We've been at war. We've been around, if you consider 1776 the start, we're looking at 247 years. And I think we've been at war for all but 14, 16, 18. I'm trying to remember what the number is. It's 230. It's for 200 and almost 50 years of existence, we've been at war for pretty much 95% of it. Why is that? We came over here, stole land from people, enslaved people. Really, there's not a lot to be too proud about, especially when we have the things going on right here with our people inside. If we're going to have a country, right? If you're going to subscribe to this idea of nations, of countries, right? Now, I'm not a globalist. Like, everybody, that's a term that people, they kind of, you know, they make it look like this horrible thing. Now, it is when you're talking about global banking, when you're talking about, you know, when you talk globalist, you know, you're talking about a central bank for the entire world. I'm not, that's not something that I think is any kind of decent or good, right? I think the central banking is a joke. But I think that if you're a resident of this rock that's hurtling through outer space at breakneck speeds, going around a fireball in the sky, and you're only here for 70 or 80 years, I think you should be able to go wherever the hell you want to. There shouldn't be any borders. You know, people are going to go where they're going to go. Why do we have to have this? We have an entire rock that's full of resources, but then we have these people that have, you know, they're greedy, so they take it all. You know, they want to have it all. I don't know what they think they're doing, because they're going to die just like you and I are going to die, just like everybody else. Everybody's going to die. We're all going to die. So why not just share? Why not make sure everybody's comfortable? Because we've got enough for everybody to not only have what they need, but what they want. You understand that? I'm not talking about just needs, not basic needs. I'm not talking about food, water, shelter, clothing. No. I'm talking about you want to, whatever you want to do in life. This is what I'm saying. If you, there's so many people out there, if they would have been allowed to pursue what they were passionate about, what they were good at, rather than, you know, knocking a girl up when they were 23 years old and having to take a fucking job as a construction worker. But yet they were an amazing, you know, artist or guitarist or, you know, a writer or what, you know, what have you. And they were never able to pursue that because they got locked into, you know, that 40-hour a week wage slave bullshit. Get just enough money to pay your bills, you know, just barely stay alive. That's all they want. They just want to barely keep you afloat. And then when you do finally get enough where you think that, hey man, I've got a little bit of leeway here or whatever, you know how many people out there are, there's 60% of this country right now is paycheck to paycheck, and we are the wealthiest country in the world. 60% can't miss a paycheck. You know how many people can't even afford a $400 emergency? I mean, I'm blessed. I mean, I've had some things come up and I've had to, you know, throw out some coin and, you know, thankfully it was there. But I mean, it's, you know, it gets rough and, you know, I mean, I've been fortunate, and I'm grateful, you know, I mean, I was able to, you know, take a ball and run with it, I guess. Not like Dan Goldman, but, you know, to figure it out. I mean, it was kind of one of those where necessity is the mother of invention type deals, but, you know, we all got our different thing. And this is, I'm not taking anything away from anybody that works on an honest day. I did it my whole life, and it's got me in the place right now where I can't anymore. I can't go out there because I've got such bad nerve damage that, you know, I've had to adapt and do different things. But it's cool because, you know, even for the last 10 years, even though I was out there doing that, it was always on my own terms, you know, and being able to pick or choose jobs is nice. Even though you might not necessarily like the work per se, at least you can, if it's, you know, something where you know it's a bad job, you can just walk away from it. I used to hate that when I worked for other guys, you know, and they'd tell you, okay, here's the next job, you know, and you'd show up and you'd have a homeowner where you just right away, you just go, oh God, this is going to be a nightmare, you know, and you just want to walk away, but you had to do the job. Whereas at least if you own the company, you can just say, yeah, I gotta, you know, you don't even take the job. You just say, screw it, you know, and just go find something else to do. But it's difficult, you know. It's very difficult. And I mean, you know, not everybody, you know, everybody wants to be an entrepreneur now. Everybody wants to, you know, be an online personality. Trust me, it's not easy at all. You gotta, I mean, and I've had a tough time with it lately just because it's just so much negativity out there. And I'm not trying to be a voice of negativity. I want to, you know, at the end of this all, I want to be somebody that's coming out and leaving a positive message. However, you can't just look in the face of what's wrong and evil and just ignore it. You have to confront it. And so there's a balance there where you've got a message of, being caring and kind and compassionate towards people, but you also got to be willing to stand tall and be willing to, stick your chest up and put your finger in somebody's face when they're doing something that you don't think is right. And maybe you're fucked up in what you're doing. And if that, if that turns out to be so, then you say, hey, okay, you're right. I was wrong. But I mean, to me, what I see going on here in this world, it's a scary time, but it's an exciting time. And I think that we're, as whatever you want to call a species or whatever, I guess, I mean, we are at a crux right now, it's like, are we going to, which way are we going to go here? Are we going to keep getting duped? Or are we going to transcend this shit? I mean, there's almost 340 million of us in this country. And the color of your skin doesn't matter. As I've said, you can change that shit in a matter of minutes. I can change it for you. Might take a while, but it doesn't matter. These ideas, these preconceptions, everybody is a product of their environment, and people have an incredible ability to adapt. And that can go for somebody. I mean, if you come up in a cutthroat neighborhood where that's what you have to adapt to, then that's what you're going to do. It's survival. We have that instinct in us. It doesn't mean you can't change it. But that's the thing, is the powers that be don't want it to change. They want to use that. They want to keep us divided. They want to keep, people dislike. They want to get up there and talk this white supremacist bullshit. I live in an area of the country that's 99% white. Ask my buddy Josh what he feels about coming out here. He's loved here. More so than I am. I mean, so it doesn't have anything to do, it's insulting to watch a jackass like Joe Biden get up there and talk about white supremacy when he's responsible for the incarceration of all these black men. He said things that were just incredibly, like he doesn't want his kids going to school in a racial jungle. Tells Charlemagne the God, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Says poor kids are just as smart as white kids. He's got a whole litany of racial shit that he's said on down. Talking about Obama. Oh, he's, good looking guy. He's clean. What? What? Okay. The dude eulogized Robert Byrd. He was a fucking, what was he? Imperial Cyclops or whatever from the KKK. The guy started a branch of the KKK. And from 1952 until 2010 was in Congress. When he died, Joe Biden eulogized him. He was also a mentor to Hillary Clinton, KKK. And these fuckers have the audacity and the arrogance to sit there and talk about racial shit. And I'm sorry, but listen, all my brothers and sisters of color out there that have bought into his shit, I think you need to do your homework. Because this is not a dude that's got your back. Not at all. They don't have your back. They don't have, none of them. They don't got your back. They don't got my back. They don't give a shit about any of us as long as we serve their purpose. On that note, I think I'm going to sign off. I've got pages and pages. I've just been doing nothing but writing for like the last 2 weeks. And I just keep, it just keeps going and going and going. I'm trying not to babble on. I could probably keep going for another 3 hours here I'm just looking through all my notes here that I've got. And it's just, I guess I should put it all down and just, write a book or something. I don't know. Anyway, just keep in mind that this is all a lie and none of it really matters. And it's not worth getting wound up, hating each other. People quit shooting one another. Here's what I want to leave it at. If you see somebody, let's talk about the morning tomorrow. You're headed to work. You stop where you got to stop. You see somebody, and they got that painful look in their eye. You see somebody that's, huddled down, doesn't have any, got a cardboard sign. Who cares if they're going to go buy a beer with it, whatever. Don't even go offer money just go take it. You see somebody huddled over. I try and do this. We don't have homeless people here where I live because it's too damn cold. And they don't have a shelter and they run people out of town. And nobody comes here that's homeless anyways, because you'd have to be really, really out of your mind. I mean, there's nights where 10 minutes of exposure out there and you're dead, even when you're bundled up. I mean, my son and I had that happen one night. My truck overheated and it was 32 below and then 50 below with the wind chill. And my EGR cooler had gotten blocked up, and so it wasn't circulating the coolant. Short of a long story, I'm just picking him up from work and coming back up to the house, and we get up by the post, and I look at my temperature gauge, and it's 50 below with the wind chill, and my temperature gauge is in the red. I'm like, he had his work shirt on, I had a snowboard jacket on and jeans, and it was, we're sitting there, and I'm, this is after 10 o'clock at night. I try and call my buddy. His vehicle won't start. My folks are out of town. I'm just sitting there. I'm like, shit. And, my son's starting to shake a little bit. I'm getting cold. And I know that we've only got like a 10-minute walk home, but I know that we can't make it. It's 50 below. No, you can't be exposed. And he didn't have anything to wear anyways. By the time I would have got there, got in the other truck and gone back, so we sat there and I looked at him and I said, well, the only good thing is that this thing's going to cool down real quick. And so we sat there for about 5 minutes and I turned the key and temperature gauge had gone down and I ran the red light. Sorry, Cody Police Department. Had to get home, fellas. Besides, there's nobody out there anyways, but I ran the red light and I didn't stop at a stop sign. And by the time we got to the house, just in that short of distance, it was already overheating again. But I'm just saying, there's no homeless people out here. So, but what I'm saying is you see somebody, and I kind of keep an eye out for that in this town, because it seems like the small little towns where you never think that something's going to happen, like the things that do go down, like what happened in Uvalde and any of these small towns where you've got these shootings, you've got disaffected people that I think have slipped through the cracks. They've been ignored and they've snapped. And I don't know what it is that would put a person in a place where they would want to harm innocent children or innocent people. I mean, I've not been in that place. But if you see somebody like that gives you that trigger, that you think, go up and talk to them, ask them how they're doing. Just a simple interaction with somebody. What do you think would have happened with, that kid in Uvalde or the kid in Buffalo or the Nashville deal or any of these shootings? If somebody would have just said, because they're obviously reaching out, these people, they have their little manifestos and stuff. They are people that they've Instagrammed or, DM'd or whatever. They're trying to reach out to somebody, but they're not getting any love from anybody, They're not getting that, the idea that somebody actually gives a shit. I mean, you got to be I can't even imagine what kind of personal hell you've got to be in to want to go into a school and start shooting kids, but you never know. You could prevent the next one from happening just by having a little conversation with somebody, instead of doing the old, go to the gas station or the grocery store and the clerk says, how are you doing? The classic, how are you doing today? Oh, I'm fine. How about you? Actually like interact with people, like care, give a shit, that I'm going to make that a focus of my day tomorrow. If I get out of the house, I don't know, it's supposed to keep raining. We'll see. I might be going out and doing some, building some stuff out in the shop tomorrow. I haven't done that in a while. I've got a couple of guitars I'm building, so I may end up just working on that. I don't know. But if I get out there, I'm going to keep my eye out. Who knows? You could be a hero, you could be a hero to so many people and not even know it. I mean, think about that. Just by going up and telling somebody that you'd give a shit about them. You know, could change the whole complexity, the whole, could change the, from, you could change it from being a goddamn headline on CNN with, them, showing another one of these goddamn mass shootings to maybe that person goes out and shows some kindness to somebody else. You might inspire them. You might snap them out of it. To me, that's worth it. Even if it's a couple bucks, you got to throw somebody's way out. What's a $20 bill? I don't care. I mean, I've gone out and thrown $100 bills. What's $100? It's nothing. It's nothing anymore. I mean, once you break 100, it's gone anyways. I mean, what am I going to do with it? I'd rather give it to a guy that's huddled in a fucking freezing cold doorway that's got that's a fucking disabled veteran, downtown buildings or whatever, get him in a hotel room at least for the night. Least I could do. I mean, what's it? I mean, I got a place to go. I mean, I got gas in my truck. I got a home. I mean, it's like doesn't do much for that guy, but it gives him a night at least in out of the cold, shower, and the idea that somebody gives a fuck. Last guy did that too. He fucking broke down crying. I almost started crying. I was like, he give me a big old hug. He's like, man, nobody's ever been this. I'm like, dude, just go get a room, man. Get warm. Get something to eat if you can. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't have it. That's all I got on me. I mean, it's almost heartbreaking that $100 can make somebody lose it like that. That they think that that's like more than what they're worth. That's gut wrenching. And what's insulting about the whole thing is that we sit here and we watch these jackasses throw all this fake money all over the globe and build bombs and blow people up. And we have people like that, ill people, sick people, hurting people. Look at fucking Los Angeles. I don't even know how many city blocks, Skid Row is now. Look at Frisco. The New York City, Seattle, Portland, all of our major cities. It's horrible. And we just want to ignore it. I dig a few cats online. I see that they put out videos where they'll go around and they'll go and ask somebody for some help. They'll go up to like a homeless person, right? And be like, excuse me, man. I think somebody lifted my wallet. I'm just trying to get on the bus, man. You got a couple bucks? I just don't. I gotta get home, And you've got to, you'll have a guy that's dirty and grubby and doesn't have shit. He'll reach in his pocket and give the dude his last $2 or whatever. And the guy will go, "Hey, I'm just kidding, man. I got my wallet." And the dude will be like, "What was it?" He'll reach in his pocket and go, "Here, man. The first person that helped me today, I wanted to give $1,000 to." He'll hand him $1,000. I mean, that's, to me, that's awesome. And I mean, they're able to do that because they get enough views, but it's a good thing. It's one of those that gets you I think that makes a difference. Now, granted, they're getting enough views that they're making the money off of it, that they're able to do that. And I think that's great. I think it's great. You're helping somebody out. You're staying afloat. And you're doing a good thing. And you're sending a good message. And if you're doing that and you're making some money for yourself, then hey, man, everybody's got to eat. There's nothing wrong with, doing good and making money. I mean, it's not like these guys are out there like screwing people over like the politicians or the bankers or these corporatist fucking jerk offs. On that note, I'm going to cut it off. As we always say, from 52 miles east of Jellystone Park in Coyote, Wyoming, you've been tuned into the Mike Files. I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and think about it tomorrow. First person you see, do something kind, even if it's just a kind word. The pat on the back to somebody can do miracles. So keep that in mind. And if you see old people falling down, don't vote for him for president. Sorry. And watch out for Chris Christie. All right. Let's see if I can figure out what button I got to hit here, because I'm a genius. Oh, Oh, you know what? Here's one thing I didn't talk about. Check this out. This is an experience I had this last weekend. Let's see if I can get this to come up. Okay. Now, you guys see this picture? Do you see where the arrow is pointed? I'm out there on my dirt bike. My buddy messages me and says, "What are you up to?" I hear the thing come through my headphones, so it's right there where I always stop anyways. I usually stop there at this point, and I look to decide, okay, where's the mud, where's people, which way do I want to go? Because I have a number of choices from there. That's usually my, that's like, am I going to go this way and go out to this spot, or am I going to go this way, So I just, instead of, doing the whole text message thing back, I just pull my phone off my handlebars and I just snap a picture and just shoot it to him, and I put the phone back in. I've got a little handlebar clamp. I put the phone back in, music starts going again. And, I decide to take off left. He sends me a text message. He goes, "What's that fucking glowing orb thing all about?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "In that picture that you sent me." I'm like, "Huh?" And I've gotten home and, I open up my phone and I'm looking through my photo and I'm like, "What the fuck is that?" And so it was the craziest thing. I don't know what it was. I went back the next day. There's nothing there. But that is definitely a glowing something or other. And I don't know what it was. But the craziest thing is I got home and I'd bought this rare earth magnet that I was going to tie a lanyard around and use it to sweep the floor with, because I'm always dropping screws and parts and shit. If you have a magnet, it makes it a lot easier, especially if something goes back in a, cubby or something where you can't get into it. So I've got this rare earth magnet and I've got it kind of cradled on my left arm while I'm tying this. I got an old ski pass out and I was just going to tie the lanyard around it. And I fill the thing and it sticks to me, to my left arm. And I'm like, what in the world is this? I'm like, this is crazy, And so I'm sitting here and I've got let's see if I can find it. I don't know. I've got a photo of it, but I'm sitting here right like I am right now. And I've got my arm straight down like this. And I've got this rare earth magnet stuck to my arm. And I start wiggling my fingers and it starts jumping around. And finally I do like this with my fit, and I do like 3 fists with my arm straight down like this off the side of my chair. And the thing jumps off my arm, like 3 feet, goes behind one of my guitar amps over here, like jumps off my arm. It's not because I've got big old, muscles or anything like that anymore, And it had me weirded out. Like I'm sitting here and I'm moving. I've never heard of that happening. Anyway, it was weird. And now the magnet won't stick anymore. But that night after I'd been, whatever that thing was, like I said, I went out the next day because I had to go see. I thought maybe there'd be like a charred burn mark or some kind of a sign of this thing. I've never seen anything like that. I've got thousands and thousands of pictures of being out there that I've taken off of all sorts of different cameras, and I've never seen anything like that. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there. So I'm going to leave it on the orb. I'm going to look at it, see what you think. It's crazy though, right? I mean, anybody got any idea? Anybody ever see anything like that? And this is not a doctored photo either. There's no filters. The only thing is I put the text in and the arrow and my logo, and that's it. But that glowing orb, I didn't even see it because I was just like, he's like, "What are you up to?" And I just, rather than go through the I was just like, he would know. Send him a picture. I'm out on my dirt bike, That was it. I didn't look really. I wasn't even paying attention. I mean, and then, you've got your helmet on and I've got my goggles and everything, and I mean, I didn't even see it. But I mean, I don't know. It's a cloudy day, so there's not a lot of sun out there. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I mean, it almost looks like behind it there. I mean, I've been out there to the exact spot. Because when I left that day, I rode forward and then I cut through the sagebrush and I went left. And got on that road and went that way. Went headed south. So I went back the next day and I pulled up right in my same tracks. And there was nothing there. And then the magnet thing, weird stuff. I don't know. It's a crazy world. Anyway, Frank, thanks for the conversation, buddy. You take care, man. Anytime. Be good at it. Do no harm, ladies and gentlemen. Later days.